This sitting is resumed. Prior to the suspension for lunch, Summer Chamber was debating the budgetary proposals and financial statement 2026. We return to those. Honourable Member for St. Michael Central.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I rise to support the budgetary proposal laid before this Honourable House, permit me first to join my colleagues in congratulating the Honourable Minister of Finance and Member of Parliament for Christchurch East Central for an excellent delivery of the budgetary proposals and the financial statement for 2026 to 2027. Mr. Speaker, secondly, I wish to give thanks to Almighty God, whose grace, wisdom, and guidance have brought me to this moment of service in the Parliament of Barbados. I also wish to extend my heartfelt gratitude to my family and friends, whose encouragements and sacrifices sustained me throughout this journey. Their belief in me never wavered, and I stand here today because of that unwavering support. Next, I wish to express sincere appreciation to my political party for trusting me, and it's an institution that has long championed opportunity, social justice, and progress for the people of this nation. Naturally, sir, I want to take this moment in time also to thank you for trusting me to carry the torch you once carried. And I assure you, I do not take this responsibility lightly. I assure you that I will honor your legacy while creating my own. I must also acknowledge the leadership of the Honourable Prime Minister, whose vision continues to guide Barbados through complex global challenges while ensuring that our people remain at the center of national development. But most importantly, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to sincerely thank the beautiful and resilient people of St. Michael's Central, who placed their trust in me to represent them in this honourable house. That trust is sacred, and I give my assurance today that I will work tirelessly to honor it. Mr. Speaker, today is historic because for the first time in many years, due to the constitutional amendment passed by this government, St. Michael's Central once again has a voice in this Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, I intend to ensure that the voices of my constituents are not merely present in this honourable chamber, but heard clearly and forcefully. Mr. Speaker, as I deliver my maiden speech as the first female member of Parliament for the constituency of St. Michael's Central, I must acknowledge the women who paved the way before me, women who challenged convention, broke barriers, and insisted that leadership in Barbados would not be limited by gender. It is because of their courage that women today participate fully in the governance of our country. Their sacrifices created opportunities for many of us who now follow. And it is my hope that young girls across Barbados, and especially those in St. Michael's Central, will see that leadership is within their reach as well. Mr. Speaker, the 2026 to 2027 estimates of revenue and expenditure project total expenditure of approximately $6.1 billion for the upcoming fiscal year. But Mr. Speaker, the estimates are not simply numbers. They represent priorities, choices, and most importantly, they represent people. So when I examine these estimates, I do so not through the lens of an economist, as I am far from being one, but through the lens of my constituents in St. Michael's Central. Mr. Speaker, the government, through programs such as the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, the Youth Development Program, and the Barbados Youth Advance Corps, are designed to empower young Barbadians with the skills and opportunities needed to succeed. Recently, a young man from my constituency visited my office. He had completed school but struggled to find stable employment. He said something that stayed with me. "Ma'am, And I was like, ooh, I am ma'am now. That's the first time someone had ever called me ma'am. But ma'am, I don't want handouts. I just want a chance. And that young man represents thousands of young Barbadians. Mr. Speaker, contrary to popular belief, young people are ready to work, ready to build, and ready to contribute. But they sometimes lack the vision, the guidance, and/or the discipline. This is why programs such as those offered by the Ministry of Youth and institutions like the New Horizon Academy are crucial. When we invest in our youth, we are not simply spending money. We are investing in the future of Barbados. Mr. Speaker, this budget also supports the Urban Development Commission and the Urban Regeneration Program. These initiatives are critical for communities within St. Michael's Central. Urban regeneration is not merely about infrastructure. It is about restoring pride, strengthening communities, and ensuring that every Barbadian has access to opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the government, through the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, continues to support vulnerable citizens through programs such as the Community Elderly Care Program, the National Disability Unit, the National Assistance Board, the Social Empowerment Agency, and the One Family Program. These programs are instrumental in ensuring that the vulnerable get a helping hand, because sometimes life is not fair and circumstances may be beyond our control. But that is why equity is far more important than equality, because equity demands that we acknowledge the different circumstances and provide targeted support to ensure that every individual has a fair opportunity to succeed. Mr. Speaker, we cannot forget our seniors, and this budget, through the cost of living cash credit, ensures that both contributory and non-contributory pensioners receive $100 per month to assist with the cost of living. Many seniors in St. Michael's Central spent their lives building this country. They deserve dignity, care, and a nation that remembers their contribution, because a nation that does not forget its own history. Mr. Speaker, the government, through the Ministry of Educational Transformation, continues to modernize our education system through initiatives such as Skills for the Future program, the School's Digital Technologies program, the Robotics program, and the School Meals Department, who has now extended their feeding program to ensure that all primary school children from September 2026 get free breakfast. Education remains the most powerful engine of social mobility, because whether one is born into privilege or from more modest beginnings, education remains the great equalizer, capable of placing every individual on equal footing. Mr. Speaker, this government, through the Ministry of Energy, Business Development and Consumer Affairs, offers programs such as the Trust Loan Funds Limited, the Barbados Agency for Micro-Enterprise Development, and the National Financial Literacy Program. These continue to empower Barbadians to start and grow businesses. I have always said that we as Barbadians need to start thinking outside of the box. It is one thing to want and to have a government job because it is comfortable. But real success is seldom found in comfort. It is achieved when we challenge limits, embrace calculated risks, and step beyond what is familiar. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is imperative that we cultivate a generation of successful entrepreneurs. For in doing so, we create pathways to generational wealth and reclaim in a meaningful way the economic independence and dignity that history once denied us. Mr. Speaker, I welcome and look forward to the $80,000 worth of improvements to the Andrew Allen Community Center promised by the Ministry of Sports and Community Empowerment. The Andrew Allen Community Center is not just a building for the people of St. Michael's Central. It represents a space where constituents can congregate to learn, express themselves, and unite. whether it be through our Faces of the Future program launched on March 20th, 2026, or through the other various programs this government offers. Equally, I look forward to the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology honoring their promise to the people of St. Michael Central to install public Wi-Fi and computers at the facility so that the people who lack technological resources can keep up with the changing times as Barbados moves further into the 21st century and digitizes the services the government offers to its people. I am also tremendously excited to see the completion of the National Stadium. I know you saw my video. The netball facility and the refurbishment of the hard court in Station Hill. Because sports are not just a hobby. They keep people physically fit, mentally stable, and can provide economic opportunities that support families. Mr. Speaker, strategic investment in the sports industry represents a meaningful and practical response to the troubling rise in youth violence by providing structure, discipline, and positive pathways for our young people. Mr. Speaker, representation is not simply about occupying a seat in this chamber. It is about advocacy, listening, and ensuring that the voices of ordinary citizens influence national decision-making. As a Member of Parliament for St. Michael Central, I pledge to remain a strong advocate for my constituents, so help me God. Their voices will guide my work, and their concerns will shape my contributions. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I wish to reiterate my support for the budgetary proposals announced by the Minister of Finance and the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central. This budget shows the commitment that this government has for ensuring that it upholds its motto of making life better for its people. This budget shows that we mean it when we say, when we lead, Bajans will and must succeed. I also once again want to thank the people of St. Michael Central for the honor they have bestowed upon me. I entered this chamber with humility and determination to serve. So whilst history may have opened the door that brought me here, service to the people is what will define what I do whilst I am inside here. And so I close by saying to the people of St. Michael Central, your voice is back in Parliament. Your concerns will be raised, and your future will remain at the center of my work. Mr. Speaker, sir, with those few words, I am obliged.
Honourable Member for St. Michael North.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, let me first start by thanking God for this opportunity to stand here today in this honorable and august chamber. And even as I do that, let me thank him for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the good people of St. Michael North. And even as I say that, I want to also thank every constituent, those who voted for, those who did not vote, those who did not vote for me. But all constituents, I want to thank them for reposing their confidence in me once again to represent their interests in this sacred place. It is not an honor that I take lightly, but it is one that I appreciate and I'm grateful for. And this being the second time around, I am even more appreciative because the confidence has been reposed in me to continue to do the work that has been started. So I want to thank the people of St. Michael North for that. And of course, we're here, Mr. Speaker, in the estimates and budget process. It has become very customary for us to have this exercise. It's a yearly exercise that we partake in. But I don't want us to lose the significance of what we're here doing. And I obviously don't want us to lose the significance of the presentation that was made by the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central just yesterday evening. I believe, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this budget will go down in history as one of the more significant budget presentations that we've had in this chamber and in this house. I believe that, Mr. Speaker, because I would term this, and I think I would borrow the phraseology from our Honourable Prime Minister, the Honourable Member for St. Michael North East, in terming this a people's budget. Mr. Speaker, if I had to title it, I would call it a people-centric budget. I believe that this budget represents that it's not only a budget of the people, but it is a budget for the people. All throughout the context of what the Honourable Member would have shared with us yesterday evening, all I was hearing would be people, people, people. The initiatives, the proposals, the programs that were discussed and presented yesterday, people at the center. But even as we discuss the significance of this moment, I think of context. And as I reflected upon this exercise, as I said, we do it every year, so sometimes you may forget the significance of the moment, the significance of the exercise, and you may even forget context. And I reflected, Mr. Speaker, on the 1977 budget presentation made by the Right Honourable GM Tom Adams, Prime Minister of Barbados at the time. Having assumed the reins of the administration and leadership of our country in 1976, it was a very tumultuous time, context, sir. Very tumultuous time. We had wars taking place, we had conflicts. It was the Arab-Israeli conflict that was taking place at the time. In 1973, there was an oil embargo, and that sent shockwaves throughout the earth. Every country was touched, but none more so than small island developing states, developing countries, much like ours here in Barbados. Context, sir. And we were just coming off of the heels of a Democratic Labour Party administration, and unfortunately, at that time, the economy of Barbados was in decline. Production in Barbados was in decline. There was a balance of payments crisis that was burgeoning. Context, sir. Barbados was at that time in a very precarious position. There were troubling times all around. There were troubling times ahead. And here stood the Honourable Member, the Prime Minister, Tom Adams, and he had to present a budget within that context. A budget where the global order was shifting and a small, open economy like ours was liable to take on additional shocks. There was high inflation taking place across the world. Does this not sound familiar, sir? There was low growth taking place across the world. And there was much that was taking place that was affecting the country's foreign exchange reserves. Within the Caribbean context, I think it was in that same 1977, April to be exact, that the Jamaican government of that day entered into a standby arrangement with the IMF. There was much taking place in the world, in financial systems, Mr. Speaker. So within this context, our Prime Minister at the time sought to navigate an increasingly challenging and difficult economic environment. And he could do that, and he did do that through his presentation of his budgetary measures. It is said that during that speech he reflected that access to steady and cheap energy was no longer available. He therefore sought, through his measures and his presentation, much like the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central yesterday, sought to look at the context within which the presentation of the budget was made, looking at the global environment, looking at the regional environment, looking at the local environment, and saying within that context, what can we do as a country to steady the ship of state? As I reflect on context, sir, I go further, I come forward, and I reflect on the speech presented by the Honourable Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Owen Seymour Arthur, back in 2002, sir. This is 1 year after what we know now to be 9/11, one of the greatest terrorist events that would have taken, or the worst terrorist events that would have taken place, one of them, that sent shockwaves across the globe, not only as it relates to air travel, but of course, for a small, open developing and small island developing state and an open economy that is, has as its largest base and its largest sector, sometimes in many cases, the only sector that's really driving economic productivity, tourism, we saw and we found that that was one of the most tumultuous times that this country faced. There was a sharp economic downturn due to 9/11. In fact, whilst the economy of Barbados was growing prior to 2001, many seasons and many quarters of growth were experienced. Post 9/11, we saw the economy of Barbados contract by 2 3/4%. Tourism took a hit. Rising unemployment was apparent. Fiscal deficits, Mr. Speaker, appeared. The social and economic environment within which this budget was presented in 2002 is very similar to the social and economic environment within which we now operate. And the focus of that budget, when the Honourable Prime Minister Arthur presented it, was on stabilization. It was on stabilization and it was on protection of what was at that time our most critical sector, tourism. Context, sir. So now in 2026, we are here yet again. After all of those years, I mean, even in the 1970, when I reflect on the 1977 budget presentation, I was not even born yet. I don't even think it was a twinkle in my father's eyes. He was twinkling. I'll leave that to you. Well, I certainly was not a twinkle in his eye at that point in time. But a few years later, I came. And sir, protect me. So in reflecting upon how long ago that was, that's all I'm trying to say. I now reflect on the fact that I'm here to be a part of this budgetary process in 2026. And looking, staying within the budget, and looking now, sir, at the context within which we are operating. Of course, the world in which we are operating today is much like the world of 1977 and the world of 2002. And we are seeing war, we're seeing inflation, we're seeing economic downturns up ahead that could be very likely. We're seeing many sectors under threat. We're seeing increasing oil prices and we're seeing increasing energy costs. So when we look at that context, sir, and we hear the Honourable Member, the Minister of Finance, stand before us and to give what I would consider to be measures that reflect a government that understands context and understands it well. And I know from speaking to persons, Mr. Speaker, sir, even within my constituency and farther afield, and even as you listen to some of the news articles ahead of the budget, when persons were looking for when people were asking, and what are you looking for in the budget presentation, a lot of persons were looking for an ease. But even though the global context, Mr. Speaker, would suggest that the government may want to be more restrictive in how it would go forward, the global context and what is happening all around us would suggest and would even motivate a Minister of Finance to be austere in his approach to his budgetary measures. I see, Mr. Speaker, a balanced budget that has been presented, but one that is very people-centric, very people-focused, and opening actually opportunities for sectors to be developed and grown within our country, within our context. Once again, this Barbados Labour Party administration is leading from the front, and we have presented a budget that is people-focused. We could have come with austerity, Mr. Speaker, sir. We could have come with immense restrictions, Mr. Speaker, sir. We could have come with castor oil and salt. But I believe, Mr. Speaker, that we said we will focus on the good of our people. We chose to focus on our people. Where are we focusing on our people? By offering support, Mr. Speaker. We're locking in fuel prices. We're protecting our electricity bills. We're capping prices at the pump, absorbing 50% even as it relates to our electricity bills. Absorbing a government in this global context that determines that it will focus on its people, safeguarding and shielding their interests by ensuring that whatever the increase is on your fuel adjustment on your bill come April 1, that the government has committed to you that it will absorb 50% of that increase for the next 3 months. That is an administration that cares about its people, Mr. Speaker, sir. We're also adjusting the import tax calculations. And this, of course, will lower the duties on key imports. And we know Barbados is a largely import-driven economy. Most of the items that we consume, the vast majority, food, clothing, etc., imported. And we're lowering the import duties on key imports. And this is going to reduce pressure, sir, on the price of food, personal cares, and it will also even shield and provide a buffer relative to construction costs as well. As we know that Barbados right now is going through a construction boom, and we need to be able to ensure that the cost of construction remains affordable for the average Barbadian citizen. All of these measures, once again, designed with people in mind. What else are we doing, sir? The Honourable Member introduced to us and said that we're going to be increasing the income tax limit for the compensatory income tax credit, and we're going to be moving it from $35,000 to $50,000. The compensatory income credit, sir, moving from a threshold of $35,000 up to a threshold of $50,000. This allows the lower and middle income earners in our society to be able to pay less in income tax each month and each year. And what that means, Mr. Speaker, sir, within the global context of war, within the global context of inflation, within the global context of increasing energy costs and increasing oil costs, this means that more money will be in the pocket of the average Barbadian come April 1st of this year, Mr. Speaker. What else are we doing? We are reducing personal income taxes further for the income year 2026. And those that are earning between $25,000 to $75,000, Mr. Speaker, will now benefit from a 1% reduction, moving from 12.5% down to 11.5%. This is a people-centric budget, Mr. Speaker. Further to that, we are now increasing the reverse tax credit, something that many Barbadians look forward to. In fact, when they do not receive it, they are very quick to let you know that they are looking for it. The reverse tax credit of $1,300 that we become very accustomed to has now been increased by this BLP administration in this budgetary exercise to $1,700, a $400 increase per year per person who's receiving that reverse tax credit. Once again, a people-centric budget. Time will not permit me, sir, to go through all of the other sweeping measures that were announced by our Minister of Finance. Significant people-centered initiatives. Duty-free on cameras and on dash cams. Increase in welfare support, Mr. Speaker, sir. Cash support for our senior citizens, $100 a month or $1,200 a year or $600 every 6 months, however they want to take it, it is theirs. Higher duty-free limits being offered on certain items to allow and encourage our people who are importing things naturally. We have persons who are bringing in all sorts of items, whether it's Shein, it's whoever else. People, Shein or Shein, which I don't order from them. You understand? I don't use it. And they're bringing in these things, but the Honourable Minister of Finance, he probably uses it because he made sure that persons who wanted to import items now are able to benefit from increased duties, duty-free. He may have done it for his benefit only, sir, but I'm sure he did it for the benefit of all Barbadians. And this is why I say that this budget, and I actually juxtapose this budget presentation with two of those more significant ones, because the context within which we are, people were bracing themselves, sir, for austerity, because so much is happening all around us. People were saying, no, there's no way that a government can come at this stage and open their hands and allow people to have increased duty-free concessions, increased allowances, reductions in taxes, personal income, and otherwise. There was people did not expect that this would happen. So I believe that within the context within which we are operating, that the Minister of Finance gave us a resounding and awesome budget presentation, Mr. Speaker, sir. So as I turn my attention now to the area of health. Throughout this estimates process, the ministry that I have the honor and the privilege of being a member of, a leader of, working with the hardworking and dedicated leadership team and all of those who make up the Ministry of Health and Wellness, $395,292,583 has been allocated to this particular head. $395 million is not a small amount of money. This represents, Mr. Speaker, how this government has strategically prioritized its heads, how it has strategically prioritized its expenditures, where we will spend our funds over the next year. And I'm so grateful, Mr. Speaker, that even in the budgetary presentation, the honourable member would have made mention of some of the big ticket items that are due to take place during the course, or start during the course of this fiscal year. One that he mentioned, Mr. Speaker, is the QH expansion, a $400 million project that will see the QH footprint expanding by 40%, allowing us to have more bed space, allowing us to have more clinical space, allowing us to have specialized spaces, such as a burns unit and an oncology suite, special and dedicated spaces that would allow us to better serve our people. $400 million being invested in that improvement of the QH environment. Mr. Speaker, he did not mention it, but work continues and is in this estimates for us to continue to advance the work on the health information system. Mr. Speaker, I have come into the Ministry of Health and I've been constantly hearing about the horror stories, I would say, of persons who have been waiting for inordinately long times for procedures, surgeries, etc. And in many cases, the common denominator in many of those stories that I've heard is that my notes were misplaced. They could not find my notes. When I went to the appointment, my notes were not available. Mr. Speaker, it is time for us in the 2026 Barbados to be able to put the idea of lost physical notes behind us for it to become a thing of the past. And that is what we've been working on for the last 2 years, feverishly, in the Ministry of Health and Wellness with the QH team, to be able to pilot our health information system. And I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, and I can tell the people of Barbados through you, that during the course of this year, they will continue to see improvements in the rollout of this health information system. They will be able to schedule their appointments electronically. They will be able to monitor if the appointments are being cancelled or if they're on schedule remotely. They'll be able to have, as they enter the QH system, they'll be able to have their notes moving with them throughout the QH environment and even outside of the QH environment remotely and electronically. This would allow us, and this is a game changer, Mr. Speaker, this would allow us to be more efficient in the delivery of health care in our country, not only from the perspective of ensuring that we no longer have lost notes and cancelled procedures, but it also allows us to be able to mine data. We will now be able to see in an instant insights that would allow us to be able to make better policy decisions when we see the data that comes from our health information system. There's also a new geriatric hospital, Mr. Speaker, as many have seen, that has been under construction for a little while, and we are expecting during the course of this year that that construction would come to a completion. Of course, Mr. Speaker, we must mention the $185 million that is being invested in our polyclinic upgrades. Mr. Speaker, this ministry, when I came into it in 2024, the senior minister at the time, Minister of Health, he said to me that one of our strategic pillars and our aims and objectives that we must pursue is that of improving primary health care for our country. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, many of the persons in our country, when they think of health care, they think only of the QEH. They think only of accident and emergency at QEH. But health care, Mr. Speaker, is much broader than that. The polyclinic network, as expansive as it is where we are now placing our strategic focus. Not that we're not focusing as well on tertiary healthcare delivery. We will continue to drive the improvement, and I've already mentioned the $400 million, plus other investments and so much more capital investment that is being made within the QEH and the tertiary healthcare setting. But I'm saying to the people of Barbados that we're also focusing as one of our primary strategic goals to improve primary healthcare delivery in our country. That is within the polyclinic settings. And we have said, even as we campaigned a few weeks ago, we said that we want every polyclinic to become a community health service, to become a location where community health is focused on. And that is what we are doing within the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And even as I say that, Mr. Speaker, I must focus on NCDs, non-communicable diseases. I've had the privilege of being responsible for wellness, all things wellness within the ministry. And NCDs would be one of the biggest challenges and hurdles that we face in the ministry that is affecting the wellness of our people, the health of our people. Mr. Speaker, I've said it many times, and until we get our updated statistics, we will continue to let the people of Barbados know 83% approximately of adult deaths in Barbados are caused by non-communicable diseases. 8 out of 10 adults in this country are dying as a result of largely preventable illnesses such as diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, chronic respiratory illness, and of course many varied forms of cancer. These diseases are largely preventable because they're usually tied to lifestyle choices, how we eat, if we move or don't move, how active we are, if we smoke, if we drink too much alcohol. All of these things are lifestyle choices that Barbadians make on a daily basis that have a direct impact on their health and their wellness. 83% of our people, our adults, are dying as a result of diseases that they can prevent just by changing their lifestyle. Mr. Speaker, this continues to concern the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and we will continue to put every effort into reducing the numbers of persons who are dying as a result of this. It is not just, Mr. Speaker, the fact that we're losing citizens, but there is a cost of about $375 million, and that can go upwards to $825 million per year, Mr. Speaker, that is spent and allocated towards treating NCDs in our country. $375 million to $825 million a year being allocated to fighting NCDs in our country. Mr. Speaker, if we could reallocate a significant portion of that money towards education transformation, if we could allocate it towards public sector talent development, if we could direct it, Mr. Speaker, towards agricultural development and food security, if we could redirect those funds, Mr. Speaker, towards youth and sports, community empowerment, if we could reallocate those figures and those dollars, Mr. Speaker, towards infrastructural development and to keep our construction industry booming and keep people employed, that would be a better way for us to spend those dollars than for us to continuously be putting it into treating health care. We will do it because we must, Mr. Speaker, but if we can get our people to appreciate the need for them to take better care of themselves, and for us to ensure that our healthcare delivery meets them where they are so that they can get the best care, I believe that we can reduce this financial burden that has been put on the hands, on the back of Barbadians by $375 million being allocated to it on a yearly basis. Not only, Mr. Speaker, do we have the upfront cost of $375 to $825 million a year, but we also have productivity losses due to NCDs and NCD-related illnesses. Some people, Mr. Speaker, sir, are not able to go to work as often as they should. That impacts on productivity. Some persons, when they go to work, they're not able to function as best as they should. So that impacts on productivity. And we are losing approximately $145 million a year in productivity losses because of NCD-related issues. We have to address this, Mr. Speaker. And I must say here, Mr. Speaker, if there's one area that I'm slightly disappointed in terms of the budget presentation, I wish I would have heard more relative to how we can work together to reduce these NCDs as an issue. But I know that I've been working with the Ministry of Finance, and we have tabled a few policies that we will discuss further. And I know that with time, and once we work out the metrics, the figures, and the dollars and the cents of it all, the economics of it all, I'm sure that we'll be able to see them come in maybe a future budget presentation or even in between. But I wished I had seen more relative to how we make our healthy foods more affordable for our people. And I must congratulate the honourable member, because this is his second budget presentation, and in his first one he did expand the basket of goods, which included more healthy items. And I was hoping to see a continuation of that within this budget presentation, but maybe in your third one, honourable member for Christchurch East Central, or even in between there somewhere. But we will continue to have the conversations, because I want to see healthier foods becoming more accessible and affordable to our citizens. Because when we engage with the general populace in Barbados about eating healthily, their first concern, and maybe sometimes their only concern, is the affordability. It is not as affordable. And sometimes we have to educate and show them that if you look at the right items and you look in the right place, you will find that you can access more affordable, healthy items. It's just a matter of looking and seeing where they are. But Mr. Speaker, sir, we too as a government need to lead from the front and see how we can continue to expand our healthy basket of goods. And I've even proposed that include non-food items as well. But more will be discussed along those lines. So we need to continue to work hand in hand with our civil society organizations, our churches, of course, government leading the way, our private sector organizations. All of us need to work together to ensure that this threat of NCDs, this war of NCDs, is won by the Barbados government and by the people of Barbados. And we will continue to make every effort to encourage our people to be more physically active. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we have as a target that we would reduce by 10% the levels of inactivity, physical inactivity amongst our people by the year 2030. That is our goal. We want our people to be more active. And even as I stand here today, I want to encourage the people of Barbados, get up and move. Get up and move. I'm not saying get up and go to a gym. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying just get up and move. Become more physically active. Whether it is running outside with your children, kicking a ball, bouncing a basketball, playing cricket, whether it is just walking around your neighborhood on evenings or mornings, whether it is taking advantage of the various community gyms that the Ministry of Health, in partnership with the Ministry of Sports and Community Empowerment, have been able to roll out across the country. We as a government are seeking to give opportunities to our people to be able to exercise where they are within their communities. You do not have to go far, Mr. Speaker. You just have to get up and move. So we encourage our people to move around, and not only move around, Mr. Speaker, but we will continue to do work on what is soon to be a national nutrition policy. And we're going to engage our people. We're going to have a conversation with our people relative to eating better. And a lot of this has started already within the Ministry of Health and Wellness, where we are focusing our attention on label reading. There are a lot of persons, Mr. Speaker, who just pick up items and they don't even know how much sodium is in the item. They don't know how much fat is in the item, if trans fat or saturated fat is in the item. A lot of persons just pick up because they're custom buying a specific brand. We want to encourage our people to take on the exercise, to develop the habit even of reading your labels, checking to see if the sugar content is too high, checking to see if the sodium content is too high. And we have even created some very simple refrigerator magnets and even wallet cards that would allow persons to be able to see that when something goes past a certain percentage of the daily value, you have it in red, it's color coded, so that means you should put it back on the shelf, because it is not going to be good for your health in the long term. So we're encouraging our people to eat healthier, Mr. Speaker, sir. We will continue to partner with every single agency, all community groups, all community gyms, to continue to roll out various initiatives. One such initiative, sir, is a trainer of fitness experts, fitness practitioners, so that we can have a robust number of persons from the north, south, east, and west of this island who would be able to go into various communities and to be able to start and establish fitness groups that will be able to call out persons, whether it be elderly persons within communities, whether it be younger persons within communities, but we will have persons who are now trained and certified as physical ed trainers to be able to go into these spaces and to be able to have community-based fitness programs taking place. That is another way that we're bringing health to our communities. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I begin to close, I want to bring attention to another thing, even as I encourage our people to take their health into their own hands and to take responsibility for their own health and wellness. Mr. Speaker, we have focused in this ministry heavily on screening. We started the colorectal screening pilot in 2024 late, and it ran throughout 2025. We have other screening guidelines relative to breast cancer, relative to prostate cancer, all the various cancers, about 5 different ones that we have been revamping the protocols for, the guidelines for. And we want to encourage the people of Barbados to know your numbers. Mr. Speaker, we had just this past weekend an initiative that was focused on men. It was called Lions Line. The initiative, though health focused, it allowed us to be able to bring men together in a very safe space, a comfortable space, a social environment. We had games, we had fun, we had a whole host of different activities. It was a really good event, and I'm really grateful to the men who attended that event on this occasion. But in between all of the activities, we had health checks taking place. So men, I was so glad to be able to see men sitting down and getting their pressure check, getting their sugar check, getting the bloods drawn for PSAs, different things like that. It was so good to see our men coming out and getting their health checks. And I want to encourage, because I'm speaking specifically to men today, because when it comes to our clinical speech and thought processes, we know that men have what we call poor health-seeking behaviors. You know, oftentimes a man will go to a doctor only when prodded. Somebody has to tell him, get up and go to the doctor. We don't go to the doctor, you don't see your foot swelling up. Yes, you see you squinting, you can't see so good. Somebody usually, some external stimuli usually has to be there when it comes to men and their health. Something has to be almost to the edge of death for them to get up and go to a doctor. I want to encourage our men out there, take better care of yourselves. Men are more likely to have cardiovascular events. Men are more likely to have strokes. The numbers are significantly larger when it comes to women. And I want to encourage our men, take better care of yourself. Prevention is better than cure. It is better to go to a doctor on an annual basis and check your numbers and see where you are, if you're trending in the right direction or if you're trending in the wrong direction, so you can catch something before it becomes a problem. So I encourage our men and all citizens to know your numbers and to take your health seriously. That is why we're focusing on these screening initiatives, once again within our primary healthcare settings of our polyclinics, to allow our people to have access to the latest screening technologies and protocols, so that when they go in there, they know exactly what they're going to expect to receive from our healthcare professionals. And my last note, Mr. Speaker, is on the area of mental health. Even as we focus, there are 9 or so dimensions of health: financial health, physical health, mental health, social health, etc., spiritual health. And mental health is another one that is very key to us, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, because of course we've seen, even post-COVID, we've seen increasing numbers of persons who are presenting with and exhibiting mental health challenges, especially amongst our young people in particular, Mr. Speaker. And this worries us, but we have put systems in place such as Lifeline Barbados. Lifeline Barbados is a 24-hour hotline. 535-4500 is the telephone number. 535-4500. It allows our citizens to have access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, by holidays, what have you. Allows them to have access to trained professionals who would be able to be on the other side of that telephone line to listen to whatever the concerns you have as a citizen. Lifeline Barbados is there for you. And we've had, since its inception, over 12,000 calls to Lifeline Barbados in less than 2 years. And that is a tremendous initiative that we've had in this ministry. And we're really pleased by it because we've seen that lives have been saved as a count of Lifeline Barbados being established. But so I want to say in closing, Mr. Speaker, health is important. The health of a nation is the wealth of its nation. Health is important to us as a society. We need to make sure our citizens are more productive so that they can produce more and they can add to our development as a country. We need to ensure that our citizens are safeguarded, meaning that their lives are preserved. So that's why we need to bring back the NCD surge, and the war and NCDs needs to be taking place. And that's why this government has taken a frontal approach to attacking NCDs in our country. And let me speak to our people and say, Mr. Speaker, take care of your mental health and wellness as well. Seek help if you need to seek help. Seek support if you need to seek support. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, that we are putting the systems in place that would allow health to continue to be, at the point of delivery, exceptional in our country. So as I close, Mr. Speaker, I once again congratulate the Honourable Minister of Finance, the member for Christchurch East Central, for what I believe is one of the more impactful budgetary proposals and speeches that I've seen in my time. And of course, even as I reflect upon the other budgetary proposals of 1977 and 2002, I believe that this will be in history one of the more impactful and transformative budgetary proposals that we have heard. I congratulate him and I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm obliged.
Honourable Member St. Michael East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I first have to thank my constituents, the Ivy, from the Ivy. I have to thank my constituents from Lickridge Village. I have to thank them from Haggett Hall and St. Barnabas. I have to thank them from Titchburn, Barkers Road, the Hudson Turning, Welches, Kingsland, and the Pine. Sir, there were persons who thought that Prescott would not be here. As a member of Parliament, and some were saying to me goodbye at the end of the last term. But I want my people to know that I'm still here where they want me to be. I might grow as old as Nebuchadnezzar, but as long as the people need me here, I will be here. I'm not so good at the Bible, and I'm not a full-fledged Christian either. What I wanted to say, yesterday, I heard the Minister of Finance made a speech, and he had me in captivity all the way. The nature of that speech, sir, caused me to empathize with the passion which he showed and the empathy which he also manifested for the period of the time that is really needed in this House of Assembly, and by many other persons who purport to be intellectuals. I did not view him yesterday as an economist. I viewed him yesterday as a humanist. Now, when I heard, I'm reflecting on the conclusion of the presentation, when I heard him with the long presentation for Martin Luther King, and he also earlier indicated clearly that he has a heart similar. Not because you were born in the United States of America, but you have a heart addressing similar considerations, especially at a time when vulnerable states are experiencing dark times. And I believe that it's the first time that I've heard a minister of finance deliver a speech, and the people in the streets of Barbados were engaged in a serious debate. And I think that what you have done is not only talk about the social provisions which you would introduce, but you were able to stimulate a national discussion on the important and fundamental issue at this point in history, because everybody might not fully understand the seriousness of the challenges that we are going to face. We are all of us are raising our hands with the hope, those who are really conscious, because I think that we all have a responsibility to keep that discussion going so that people will understand clearly why they have to go through certain challenges, and why, if we have to make sacrifices, why we are making the sacrifices. Because simple answers to these problems is that the government don't know what they're doing. So it means that we must be on a path of education. We must be on a path of enlightening people and stimulating the dialogue that is required, so that if all the predictions that goes over $100 a barrel, if they come true, there be major sacrifices that we will all have to make. And at the end of the day, the most vulnerable persons in the society are usually the people experiencing the pain most of all. Not only you refer to Martin Luther King, but you remind me of the Guyanese poet Martin Carter. Martin Carter, during difficult times globally and also within the precincts of the sovereignty of Guyana, Martin Carter, not Martin Luther King, Martin Carter wrote a poem called "This is a Dark Time, My Love." All round the land, brown beetles quarrel. You see, the shining sun is in the sky. They talk about those boots of steel trampling down flowers at a time in history when difficulties were existing in the Caribbean more so than other parts of the world. And not due to the fault of any governance in the region, but due to the fault of governance elsewhere. We became victims. And in many times when we become victims, it is not because we are responsible for the causality, but because we are normally the victims of things that we have no control over. So we are all vulnerable, sir. And Mr. Speaker, I went home and I reflected on the speech, and one of my colleagues made reference and said it was one of the best speeches that he has heard. Minister, I don't know what has happened. I don't know what is responsible for the intellectual, as it must be a spiritual transformation. Are you going to church recently? Because these are two of the most penetrating speeches that I have ever heard from you. And I am tempted to say from everyone else who have heard speaking on financial matters in this country. No academics, no overcrowding of stocks, but a philosophical trend, as though it's a testimony of hope or testament of hope. When you spoke about the little child who you made contact with, and you gave the guidance that you gave, and you made sure that as an adult you were cautious. You were not going into any trap. You said, let your mother call me. I said, this man's heart is in this speech, not just brain. Heart was in this speech as well. And when I heard you going on a journey of reflection of your experiences pushing a trolley, I said, this is my brother. Pushing a trolley from over in Independence Square over here and down. Obviously, you didn't get much money, but you did it. I think you were sending an important signal and an indicator to young people. And you didn't use the exact words of Oadafa, but I remember Oadafa here saying, we all have to be the best that we can be. And I think that's the lesson that you were sending to young people, but I wanted you to extend it to some of those who are not so young, who may be involved, getting themselves involved in all kind of unfortunate and immoral and even criminal activities, because you were signaling to all there's a necessity for adults to give guidance to young people. And as this society becomes harder hit by what we are experiencing, especially at a time like this, when we are already experiencing a lot of criminal activities across the country, we need people to be able to empathize. There must be some form of introspection in trying to understand what we need to do. You know, I don't want to give stories because I think you gave good examples, but I know what life was like for me as a teenager growing up in my neighborhood. I know what it was like. I had mangoes and I stole mangoes, although I had mango trees. And to me, it was not an act, a crime. It was just fun. I see lots of my friends who I used to run around with end up at Dodds. Well, it wasn't Dodds then, but it was at Glandery. And I used to go sometimes in Flint Hall to the back and shake my hand. And the man serving a 5-year term in there, that was my good buddy. I was fortunate, and I always put it this way, I was fortunate to come here and not there. So we have a responsibility to them, and we have to give them hope by showing that we use that academic achievement. And I'm not going to hide it. What you did yesterday called for deep academic thought. We don't have that self-respect to tell our own black brothers and sisters. I don't talk about being bright, I'm talking about applying yourself to deep thought in relation to social, political, and economic conditions. We don't do it. And I want to compliment you for all that you have done yesterday. And I just have a hope that everyone here would keep this debate going. It does not finish with what was presented yesterday or today. These are serious times. This is a dark time, my love. And when he said that, he was talking about the respect for the sovereignty of the state in which he lived in. That's what Carter was saying. But we have a lot of work to do. What is happening to us? The chances are that we may end up with food shortages. We are not being alarmists, but we have to face those realities. We might find out that even the hope for just a slight raise in the cost of the gas might go way beyond our imagination because it's a war. And I like to reflect on historic experience. When we came out of the 1930s and the 40s, we produced, I'll give you some new images. We produced Soyuz Springer. It wasn't Soyuz Springer then. And during the debates after the Second World War, and after the 1930s uprising, he was in the forefront of the expansion, and he called for the expansion of the educational system. You know, yesterday and during the last few weeks, we've been talking about the expansion of pre-primary education and making pre-primary education more universal than it is at present. But what he was saying then, that there is a need for a University of the West Indies. Many people in Barbados don't know the contribution of Springer. He was, at that same time, in trying to solve the problems even before we had self-government. They were talking about the unification of the Caribbean in order for the Caribbean to have the required strength to counter any external forces that might impact on the society at this specific time. And you had Grantley Adams speaking. They called for the trade union movement. The most effective labor institution in the history of the region is still the trade union movement. And I always pray every day that in no way it will lose its potency. It's a frightening thing because we're living in a capitalist market, and if the most powerful instrument of labor even bends, we don't know what will happen to the working class people in this country. Cipriani was speaking at the time, that's saying the intellectual core, which should also include parliamentarians, must speak at this time. These are dark times. You have to speak. You can't come in here and draw the taxpayers' money and don't talk. Nobody can stop me from talking because I come here to talk. For a purpose. And just like the Minister of Finance yesterday, I feel these things in my heart. I might not be an intellectual, but I feel it in my heart. And I intend to share it with other people. You had Cipriani. I'm not going back to the 1930s. I can tell you about the battle in the 1930s which we had when people could not get anything to eat, when people was getting 3 shillings and 6 pence That's the 1930s, but by the time you hit in the 40s, there was a struggle for self-government. And Granny Adams, one of the leading intellectuals of the time, placed the issue of self-government on the table and placed also the issue of the federation by the time as we come down to the latter, in fact, the 1958 or so, but in 1940s and 50s. And all of that stemmed from the experience of the hardship that was coming through from the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. It is now our time. It is now our time to do our duty to our people. And I respect the blueprint as you laid it out yesterday, because it tells me that somebody is very clear on the trajectory that must be applied if you want to save our people from this crisis. They had to save people from the crisis in the 1930s and 40s and into the 1950s. So when you come here, and here is not supposed to be a circus. It is not a place for clowns. I can't tell you so. Look, regardless of where you came from, when you get here, remember that thousands of Barbadians put us here.
That's right.
It is not a place for being contentious. I have never said anything in this house about my people that is contentious. About my people that is contentious. Because there's nothing that you have done that can cause me to be better with you. You understand me, Medic? Sorry, sir. Sorry.
All I remember, I remember you're familiar with the procedure.
Sorry, man. No, there's nothing. I believe that we have had some men who had natural ability that came to this house, and they probably made some contributions. Once in a while, you may get a chance, if you use the library, you might use the library sometimes, you get a chance to go and see some of the contributions made by great men who came to this house. It is not a time for trivia night. People don't put you out of here because you got on a shirt that is conventional. I have had experiences of that type in here, right? We have, at present, to put programs in place. Not because we want to talk pretty, but we got to put programs in place that if tomorrow we get a clear signal, this is a long run. The war would not be over next week. We have to look and see what the Ministry of Agriculture is doing. I don't think we should wait neither. I think all right now we should be putting things in place. My sister will be experiencing some pressure, not only from us, but also from the people across Barbados, because we don't want to see ourselves in a situation where there would be a food shortage, right? And we have the foresight. History taught us there's always a requirement for foresight, especially in times like these, dark times. And it means that that agriculture program has to be going at a very rapid pace. We agreed even before this budget, and those provisions will complement the budget, because you did not bring the budget out of a vacuum. You also know that there were certain important planks, social and economic planks already in place that the budget is more complicated than that is complemented the budget itself, because they were there before the budget. And we talk a lot, but sometimes the tardiness of the transfer of the cash to get the programs going, we have to take the blame. So when you want to have a care project and you want to make sure that people are given chickens, people are given tools, given financial assistance, given black belly sheep. Some people do not understand the urgency of these things until we find ourselves in a crisis. And then you see everybody running around and pointing fingers at each other. So we have to talk with the people, because it also requires an informal education program. And I want to thank the Rastafarian community too, you know, regardless of how many people feel about the Rastafarian community. And I want to thank them, because even when they were facing counter forces in this society, the Rastafarians were not only smoking herb, the Rastafarians were producing music and very much engaged in cultural activities all across the region, and everybody hails Bob Marley. Everybody. So we look. Let me tell the Rastafarian community this. Trust me, you have a minister in me. That's the first thing. I want to thank the Prime Minister. I want to thank the Prime Minister for making me Minister of Pan-African Affairs and Heritage. It is so unique, but so special, and special to me. I want to thank my Pan-Africanist brethren, and there are many of them that went on before me. You talk a lot about Marcus Garvey, but he's the greatest black philosopher that the world has ever seen. And I am glad to be schooled in the philosophy of Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois. So I'm saying that the Caribbean produced good stock in many ways. And we, in this ministry, we're working along with any of the other ministries who are willing to drive to work with us. I spoke to Minister Blackman recently about having black history or African history. It would not be any long debate. I will not waste time with anybody into any long debate on whether it's African history or black history or Afro-Caribbean history. I don't waste time with that. Transformation. This is about transformation in the Ministry of Education, and my ministry will work with the Minister of Education to get the ball going. That must be on the syllabus, and history must be taught in schools about all the achievements of black people all over the world. That would also form part of that consciousness that is required. That is the kind of education I'm talking about. That consciousness that is required to help us to understand who we are. Who we are is about a national identity. And that is why I have great admiration for you, Springer. And if you understood the history of the 1830s with Stanley in Great Britain, he understood it well, because he only said that you all ought to learn the 3 R's. Nobody here was supposed to be an economist, no doctor, no dentist, no businessman, nothing. 3 R's go to work in these sugar fields. And the ball is in our court now. for we to help shape in the most malleable form that man ought to be shaped in, not physically alone, but mentally, so we can appreciate each other and treat each other with a sense of dignity. And you must respect all the experiments that you might call it, the Rastafarian movement, because today we are talking about the commercialization of the marijuana. And we are all around, talking about all the great Rastafarian people, Jamaica, Trinidad, wherever, Africa, wherever, we are talking about the greatness of these men because of the talent and what it is about a human being outside of the physical self that makes him the character that he is, but talent itself. We come from the nigger yard of yesterday, boy. Huh? And everybody should go home and Google it, go get it, AI, read it, print it, put it in your bedroom and look at it every night. Who think because they got on high shoes or a wig and think that they're not from the nigger yard? They're still from the nigger yard of yesterday. So we want to have our what? Talking about you for?
I remember speaking through the chair.
Sir,
I remember speaking through the chair.
I'm sorry, sir. I was distracted. Yes, sir. We need all of this as part of the budget. Should be. Many persons spoke about pensioners and all of that, and I think sometimes when everybody wants to talk that, then we see this, which we ought not to see. But we see this because you're here to make a critical analysis. You're here to make a critical analysis. And I'm trying to shun away from that because everyone in here seems to be on the track, one track all the time, and somebody got to run on the outside track when it comes to serious assessment of where we are as a people. Sir, I don't want to finish this speech without thanking the government for what they have done for the people who work hard on the Bell Plantation, and probably some on Lower Slip Plantation. They sent me here and they make a number of demands on me, and rightfully so. My government has responded after a long time to making sure that those people now have portable water running to their homes. That is a great achievement, not only for my government. I hope that in addition now to the storage facilities, where you're going to channel the sewage out of the community, I hope in addition to that, on our agenda this year, we will also look at the subdivision of the lands so that these people can enjoy land ownership. The land is now in the hands of the state. It's not in the hands of the former owners of the Bell. And I no need to tell you who some of them are. I want to see these people live and enjoy the highest forms of human civilization. Water is a human right. Obviously, disposal of I don't have to describe that or go to the United Nations to know that all man must be able to do that. But I don't want these people to come to Earth and leave Earth without ever owning 1 square foot of land. Where there's a requirement for the restructuring of the homes, bring them in alignment so that we can have proper housing stock and roads. I won't want the honorable member for the city to enjoy all these great benefits that the people who work directly on Sandwich by the pine plantation and Sandwich by the Bell and Lower State can't enjoy these benefits. Other people in here could enjoy all the niceties of life because you could not be here had not for a death. I really want that to happen for them. I hope that we could sometimes engage some more. Sometimes when we're providing social facilities, I'm not going to specify any area, social facilities, housing, roads. I believe that ministries as a new approach, ministers when they're making those changes in communities should always consult with the MP that represent the area. We can't continue to go because you become a minister and believe that you have been elevated to high office. You can't move around with your chest in the air and behaving pompous and believe that those people who place you there don't have any say. So I would like to see that change because on one occasion when I find myself being upset is because the MP stepped forth. Sometimes I only hearing about it when I am at home. And they're doing something that just with a little discussion, even with a person that they might not believe is worthy, but with a little discussion, we can do it a lot better.
Honourable member has 2 more minutes.
Oh, Lord. Sir, let us learn from the mistakes of the past. Let us learn how we tackle situations, because I know much people don't want to talk about the genesis of the cause and why we are in a situation today where we have to be examining the logistics of a budget, because all I would say, because I understand too what is happening across the region and what is happening across the world, but we would love to be able to speak frankly on these things, but I would not dare to do so, because sometimes people expect me to do so, right? But Barbadians today are asking questions, what is happening at the level of CARICOM? What is happening at the level of global politics? When people didn't want to wrestle with those discussions, because all was not good after the World War, I spoke about some of these things that were good, but all was not good. Well, by the 1950s, we were struggling with nonsense, like one from 10 leaves nothing. And Caribbean leaders, when we ought to understand from back then that the collective strength of the region would have put us in a better position.
Honourable, wind up, please.
Okay. In relation to world affairs, we ignored it then, and the Federation bust up, so to speak. And we do not know exactly where we are at present because of some of these tensions emerging in the system. Sir, I'm very, very appreciative of the time which you have given to me
You ought
to
to
speak.
be. You should be. You going over your time.
And I try to do it in the most lucid and sober manner that I can. It might not be always a mirror of my character, but I hope everybody appreciate that I'm trying to make an effort to say something that makes sense. So thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words.
Honourable member from Christchurch South.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for recognizing me as I stand on my feet to, like the other honourable members who have spoken before me, to congratulate the honourable member for Christchurch East on his budget presentation. East Central, on his budget presentation. I believe that my senior minister for Christchurch, who leads the Christchurch team, will be very proud and happy that the Christchurch team members, of which the honourable member, of course, for Christchurch East Central, is showing up. Again, exemplary leadership, and that the Christchurch team is extremely proud. Mr. Speaker, the weight of what was delivered yesterday, I hope that we can fully appreciate. Not only did the budget deliver on the promises and the covenant that the Barbados Labour Party made with the people of Barbados, but this government, as the honourable member for St. Michael North noted, delivered a people's budget. But it did so in the context of an uncertain time. Mr. Speaker, even as our economy is buoyant, is growing, we heard during the budget that we ended the last quarter with an unemployment rate of 6.1%, the lowest ever recorded. We heard in the budget that our debt to GDP ratio, Mr. President, is now 93.3%. Our real GDP growth, 2.7%, with everything telling us that it will remain steady between 2.5 and 3% for 2026. A budget delivered in what can be called, Mr. Speaker, the best of times, but also the worst of times. Because even as we see those metrics for our economy that says to us that we are doing well, and Mr. Speaker, I wait to see the spinologists and the political critics that will try to spin away this real growth. It will be interesting to see how they will do that. We all know that we are right now facing a global context which can threaten all of those metrics that we are seeing and that growth. We have, as a government, been literally running, navigating continually the complexities of the global environment. In many instances, Mr. Speaker, complexities and circumstances that we have not made, that have been thrust upon us, that we have to be able to navigate with our limited resources. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, sir, as we did during the COVID pandemic, which was perhaps one of the hardest and most severe crises that we faced, we as a government stepped up to put a shield for Barbadians. He put a shield for Barbadians, Mr. Speaker, sir. And the context, again, as the Honourable Member for St. Michael North said to us, is important. Because we look at where we've come from sometimes and we forget, Mr. Speaker, sir. We forget that just in 2017, 2018, we were facing an economy that was tanking. That we had a debt to GDP ratio of 179%. That as we heard, we were on every black, orange, and grey list. But still, Mr. Speaker, we created a shield for Barbadians. Still, Mr. Speaker, sir, we ensured that ordinary Barbadians would be able to survive. And now, as we experience that buoyancy, I say again, we face uncertain times. And this government, as it did during the COVID pandemic, is once again stepping up, not hiding, not retreating, not saying that in the face of crisis, we cannot. Not saying that we intend to deliver, but hold on. This government, through budgetary measures, is saying we are holding faith with you. We are making good on the covenant. We are making good on the promises. Mr. President, I came across a quote, Mr. Speaker, sir. It was said by Abraham Lincoln, and it was a State of the Union address during the Civil War. And he said, "The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise." He said, "We must rise with the occasion." The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are rising to the occasion, to the challenge that is confronting us, to deliver a budget that sees, feels, and hears Barbadians. If you are a pensioner, you see yourself in this budget. If you are a young person, you find yourself in this budget. If you are school age, you will find yourself in this budget. If you manage a household and have to pay a light bill, Mr. Speaker, you will find yourself in this budget. If you are a business person who imports, you find yourself in this budget. If you are an ordinary citizen, as was said before, and let's import in a little thing, not only from Xi'an, please, but Temu as well, I understand. I've never tried, but Temu as well, please. I've been educated, oh, and Fashion Nova. I got educated, and Fashion Nova. You find yourself in this budget. Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy that one of the critical elements that was announced in this budget also as well included the creative sector, particularly film. And I hope that the new ministers who now carry the baton for culture and heritage and so on wouldn't mind me speaking on the measures that were announced for the film sector. The measures that were announced for the film sector. So if you are a creative and in the film sector, very often as well, young people using the talent with little resources, you find yourself in this budget. You find yourself in this budget. It was announced that we will provide film incentives up to 40%. But more importantly, we also heard that we will ensure that we capacitate the Made in Barbados brand, so that firms who want to take advantage of that incentive have to make sure, Mr. Speaker, that when those credits roll up, people know that that film was done in Barbados. But importantly as well, those measures will capacitate the local film industry by making sure that right across the sector, that when foreign film companies come in, they have to be able to employ locals. And not just locals as gaffers and people who run around, but at the highest level, including writers, Mr. Speaker, sir, and producers. And when that legislation comes to this House, with that cash rebate system, it will put Barbados on the cutting edge of film incentives regime in the region and globally. We also heard that even beyond that, already Barbados will host a film festival, exposing, again, Barbadians, creatives, working in the sector, again, to international standards, to be able to see, to be able to share, to be able to mingle, and to be able to learn, and to bring right home here to Barbados, the best in film internationally. So that, as was said, the budget isn't just about measures for now. So we face the crisis that we have now. We face the global uncertainty, but we build capacity for the long term. And that is what a budget for the people is, Mr. Speaker, sir. That is what a budget for the people is. Mr. Speaker, since I've come into this Ministry of Agriculture and Food Nutrition and Food and Nutrition Security, a number of the members of my constituency, and I would dare say other constituencies, have been calling the office, have said they want to come and see me during my constituency clinics. Yes, other members of other constituencies, because they want to give me some advice on how to tackle some of the critical issues facing agriculture. Many young men have already turned up in my constituency clinics asking about how they can access land and assistance and other resources. But people have called and said, yes, they're concerned about food prices and how we can grow more and what is happening with all of the idle lands. And certainly agriculture is something that takes up a lot of discussion on the calling programs. I heard the Honourable Member for St. Lucie indicate that he did not see much in the budget for agriculture. I would suggest that he take a good look. Because certainly the farming community was one of the critical communities that was also found in this budget, Mr. Speaker, sir. I remember during COVID, and I will be upfront with you, Mr. Speaker, and say I don't have a green thumb. I can deal with Cactus. Cactus don't require much, so me and Cactus, we're good friends, and they cool. Anything that requires anything other than that, no please. Desert Rose too, yes, the Desert Rose, them don't need much. I cool with them. But I remember during the COVID-19 pandemic, Barbadians on Facebook, and I don't know if it was the only one, you remember we used to see pictures of people growing grapes. Grapes, I mean the grapes that we just import, you know, I saw pictures of Barbadians growing grapes, sometimes in little pots. You got some? I saw people growing fancy fruits and vegetables that I did not know could grow in Barbados. Growing vines, people sharing ways of how to get rid of pests. All of these things, in the midst of a crisis, the ingenuity and innovation of Barbadians when it comes to agriculture and growing our food showed up. It was interesting. And I remember in that moment that I said to myself that if Carmita Fraser, God rest her soul, could speak from the great beyond, that she would say, this is what I meant when I said food comes first. Grow what you eat what you grow. That's what she would say. She said, this is what I meant. Because again, I remember during COVID that we learned that we could give up a lot of things, Mr. Speaker. But you see when the supermarkets open, you see the long lines. Why? Because food comes first. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when you are in an underprivileged household, you can share clothes, you can wear borrowed clothes, you can, you can sew up a little thing, you can wear scruffy shoes, but hungry bellies don't lie. Food comes first. You talk to pensioners and you ask them what it is that they spend their pension check on most. Food, Mr. Speaker. It's going to be food. And so that in the midst of the challenge that we face, the priority for how we address agriculture and food security, how we eat, how we grow it, becomes paramount. But we face a challenge, Mr. Speaker. We face a challenge. I remember when I was a young whippersnapper. I don't remember anybody remember that word. I remember somebody calling me that around that time. And I was doing trade negotiations. I was actually doing trade negotiations with the World Trade Organizations, not working there, but involved in those trade negotiations, and following quite closely the negotiations in agriculture. I was actually, Mr. Speaker, reminded today, time has moved. I've worked quite extensively in the region with a number of farmers' organizations, doing representation and doing advocacy. And I remember that in the midst of those World Trade Organizations, WTO negotiations, there was a US negotiator. And she got up on the floor and she said, it's an anachronism of bygone days for developing countries to think that they need to feed themselves. It was a statement that stayed with me, Mr. Speaker, because it was an echo of a liberal ideology that said to developing states, countries like Barbados, that it was a nonsense for us to continue to feed ourselves when we could buy food from others. And that wisdom has been echoed in many forms. We say that it is cheaper, that our cost of production is too high. Let's look externally. Let's make sure that we buy food. It makes economic sense in order to be able to do so. But when we make that argument, what we forget is that those developing countries, she was a US negotiator, had spent years subsidizing their agricultural sector to get it where it was, and was now coming in the context of the WTO negotiations to pull the rug from developing countries to tell us now, don't grow your own food, buy from us. It was an echo of a liberal ideology that sought also to pull the rug from the provision of subsidies from the agricultural sector. Essentially, again, denying us the forward momentum in our agricultural sector that they had benefited from. But we cannot only put the blame for the agricultural sector, Mr. Speaker, sir, on outside forces. We must also as well internalize and face the contradictions for ourselves. Many of us, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have become sophisticated. Our tastes have changed. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to speak for myself. I'm a busy woman. When I come home, I ain't got no time to cut up. No, I can tell you the truth. I ain't got time to cut up the yams. Them big hooker yams, them big chunk of yams, my hand is be tired. My hands is be tired, is be itching. I ain't got that sort of time. And the sweet potatoes, listen, as a sweet potato lover, I will eat sweet potato any day. But you see them big sweet potatoes? Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, sir, I can't manage. I cannot manage. I can cook, please, and thank you very much. I just don't like to peel. Mr. Speaker, please. I just don't like to peel. Mr. Speaker, and I can cook, please, and thank you. So I like to cook healthily. So I watch all these fancy videos and that sort of stuff that I save for when I have time, hopefully, to get into the kitchen at some point in time. And I see people, Mr. Speaker, doing whole meals out of bags. They open a bag from the freezer and they put something here, and then they open another bag with the vegetables and a whole meal. Nothing ain't got peel, nothing ain't coming out fresh. Whole meals out of bags. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I went to AgriFest the other day, and I passed the Export Barbados tank, and I went in there. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I was able to sample soup out of a bag. Soup out of a bag that heated up in 10 minutes. Chicken soup. Mr. Speaker, I was so amazed. I walked about, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the whole afternoon telling everybody about this soup that I drank from a bag. Because I never. But we have become so sophisticated. We don't want to waste time. We want the convenience of it. Our taste now is elevated. So we import. The contradiction. The contradiction. Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, Barbados imports between 77 and 80% of our food. Listen to that. 77 and 80% of our food we import. The food import bill for 2025 was $952,982,000. And that was a $93,606,000 increase on 2024. Mr. Speaker, 2025, a $93,606,000 increase on food import. Food import. So we import. But I don't know that we realize that when we import all of the cost as well. We import all of the cost. So in the context of this global challenge, we have to be able to confront what that means for that import bill, what that means for the food that we will buy at the supermarket. Mr. Speaker, our agriculture inputs as well. So we got food imports at one end, but our agriculture depends in large part on a number of inputs that are also imported. I asked the officials, the technocrats within the ministry to do some modeling for me so that I could understand what was the level of inputs in some of the food that we were producing. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I gave them a short time, but they gave me some stats that would suggest that for some of the food that we are producing here, that the inputs that come from abroad are as much as 50% and more. Because what? We have to import seeds, we have to import fertilizers, we have to import the agricultural chemicals, the pesticides, Mr. President, and equipment. And what happens, again, in the context of the war that is ongoing? Fuel costs, cost of freight, cost of insurance, all of that are knock-on costs for the agricultural sector. All of that are knock-on costs for the food import bill, for the things that we want to eat off the supermarket shelf, again, that are not made here. And so we face a challenge. And I know that as I say so, people would say, but the Minister of Agriculture needs to do better. We got all these idle lands. The reason why we have to import is because we don't have the supplies here. What is the Minister of Agriculture doing? You can't complain about people importing and we don't have anything here to eat. If I don't want to cut up the yam and the sweet potato, well, y'all can do some high-level processing in order to make it easier. Mr. Speaker, sir, the ministry has been doing substantial work. The former Minister of Agriculture and Food and Nutrition Security, the Honourable Member for St. Philip South, has worked to ensure that we have a strategic crop escalation program where we have identified 16 crops, that when we look against those that are imported, and also what we know that our farmers can produce and produce well, that we are saying that we are going to return idle lands into production, utilizing over 1,700 acres of land to make sure that we can do these 16 crops well. That is preparation. That is not waiting for a crisis to happen. That is work that has been done. And already that work is bearing fruit. Because again, the official statistics, Mr. Speaker, sir, tells me that we have had growth in agriculture production of some 24% for 2025. 24% growth in production for 2025. We have had notable increases in key commodities, including cassava, 128%, corn by 124%, Chinese cabbage and bananas, 116 and 133%, respectively. We've also seen potato production remain stable with cassava and yams recording increases of 128% and 22% respectively. In the livestock subsector, we have had a small growth of 3%, but growth, Mr. Speaker, nevertheless, growth. So the work is ongoing to ensure that we can have the staple crops that are going to be necessary. I met with, a week and a half ago, even as a new minister coming in to the ministry and understanding the challenge facing us with the key stakeholders. We met right here in Parliament, in the Senate chamber. And I met with them to ask, how do we face this moment? What are the priority things that we need to do together in order to face this moment? There are some, Mr. Speaker, sir, who say that we don't need to talk anymore, that we need to just plant. And that is the approach, Mr. Speaker, sir, that perhaps has us in this situation, because we need to be able to talk to make sure that we have a strategic approach in order to be able to meet the challenge appropriately. And when we met those stakeholders and I, we devised a plan of action that had to do with making sure that we could take stock of what were the food stores on the island. We were importing seeds, so I wanted to know what seeds we had on the island. What is our seed stock? But you want to know, Mr. Speaker? The private sector who imports the seeds, they are refusing to give us the information. We can't get the information from them. The distributors, they don't want us to know. So even though we face a national moment, we can't get the information. But that's all right. I know how to work around a curve. So I said to the officials, there have to be others. There got to be local groups. There got to be regional groups who have stocks of seeds, who know what it is that we have on the island. Go to them. And that work is being done. We import fertilizers. And I've said to them, tell me what is the fertilizer stock that we have on the island. Again, to make sure that we have adequacy of supplies. So we are doing that work, Mr. Speaker, sir, to make sure, one, that we will have an adequate planting schedule, and that the key crops that are critical will be available. But again, all of the agricultural inputs as well will also be available. But we are also innovating, Mr. Speaker, sir. When I went to AgriFest, I saw that the Black Belly Sheep Project under Dr. McLean had developed grass pellets, Mr. Speaker, sir. So taking the grass and turn them into pellets so that when we have dry seasons, that the animals then can have feedstock. And we intend to scale up that project, not for the Ministry of Agriculture to produce, but to be able to provide accessible finance by working with the financial institutions, so that again, that ordinary Barbadians can turn this into a business venture for themselves and then begin to produce these again for sale. That innovation is happening.
Time flies.
Time flies?
Honourable has 2 minutes.
2 minutes. I know, in my second gear. I know, but in my second gear. I believe that. I'm feeling like I could get some time that somebody else already. Mr. Speaker, sir, I can go too fast. Mr.
Honourable,
Speaker.
unfortunately, you don't want to yield time in this presentation.
I am so guided, Mr. Speaker, sir. The innovation is continuing. In 2 months, we will launch an app that will allow ordinary farmers to be able to test their soil, the nutrient content for their soil, so that we would know how many nutrients and pesticides need to be able to go into the soil. Mr. Speaker, we will again, and it was spoken of, reframe the program that is called Project Care, not only to give chickens, but to provide wider inputs as well. Because I want the good people of Christchurch South to also benefit from a community farm. So we will help households, those at the lowest level. The University of the West Indies, again, I saw that they launched a landless chicken coop. Mr. Speaker, sir. A fancy contraption that is fully mechanized. The chickens lay, they got a little spout, the eggs just come out. And we will work with the Ministry of People's Empowerment to make sure, again, that those families at the lowest level can be able to access that, and we will deliver that to households. Mr. Speaker, I want to say as I wrap up, but the contradiction or part of the equation that faces us is also at the individual level. Because perhaps we need to return to those first basics that we had during the COVID-19 pandemic. When we went back to our backyards and we used the pots that we had, and we learned how to use rainwater, and we developed little ways of feeding ourselves, and that remembered what it was, again, to go back to the land, so that as the Minister of Agriculture holds itself accountable for delivery, that the Barbadian public as well joins this effort. Because how we face this moment and this challenge of how we feed ourselves, how we make sure that our resources don't continue to go outside, again in this moment, so that we can deliver more for the people. It is an effort that requires all of us. It is an effort that requires households, that requires young people. And that is why the budget also as well makes way for the broad development of a beekeeping industry.
Honourable Member, you are sitting beside the Honourable Member for St. Michael East, and you are starting to take on similar patterns which are not very conducive to having the effort to continue. So just be careful. It is not a good thing to be taking any pattern on your left from the Honourable Member for St. Michael East, because oftentimes he has to be asked to land his helicopter.
I've landed the helicopter. I am so guided, Mr. Speaker, sir. I thank you very much. I am very obliged. Thank you.
It wasn't supposed to be. It was good. It was he. It was Michael after the change went. Honourable Member Sir Michael West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today with a deep sense of pride and humility to be able to speak in this budgetary presentation, the people's budget, given by my honourable colleague and longtime friend from the Commerce School, affectionately known as Commerce. The honourable member from Christchurch East Central. Mr. Speaker, my presence here is grounded in the trust and confidence of the good people from St. Michael West. The West is the best. It is them who sent me here to represent them in this honorable chamber. And I give them my deepest gratitude. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for sticking with me. The choice is crystal clear. Mr. Speaker, the people of this country gave the Barbados Labour Party its third clean sweep at the polls. And it reminds me of the mid-90s when I used to watch basketball a lot more and I supported the Chicago Bulls. We have entered into a rarefied era of His Earnest Michael Jordan with a three-peat. Sir, every constituency, every seat. But Mr. Speaker, let us be clear. This comes with a tremendous responsibility. And all of us attended Freedom Park when we heard the Reverend Dr. Adrian Smith when he quoted the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. And in this house, that responsibility is not abstract. It is real. It is lived. It is felt in every household across this great nation. And as you would have heard from the honorable member from Christchurch South, and the PM likes to say this all the time, we must see people, hear people, and feel people. We must all lend our voices collectively to the mission of stability, recovery, and progress. We are entrusted with steering Barbados not only in calm times, but in times mostly in crisis. We are always in crisis mode. We must lead not only when the seas are smooth, but in rough seas. Mr. Speaker, we have navigated rough waters before, obviously. We inherited a Barbados burdened by high taxes, low growth, dwindling reserves, and rising unemployment. A Barbados where the confidence had eroded not only just at home, but overseas. The people called on us then to fix it, sir. To quote a former prime minister, we faced it and we fixed it. We answered the call. And even as we began the work of stabilization, we were confronted with one of the greatest global crises in modern history, the COVID-19 pandemic. And like a lyric song, hit after hit after hit, we had crisis after crisis after crisis. Pandemic, freak storms, Elsa, Beryl, we all know what we went through. But Mr. Speaker, did we retreat? No. Like our current president said then, and I'll say now, no retreat, no surrender. Did we make excuses? No, sir. We governed. And today, Mr. Speaker, the results speak for themselves. Our results of the stewardship is undeniable, sir. 19, you heard it from my colleagues before, 19 consecutive quarters of growth. Foreign reserves now over $3 billion, correct me if I'm wrong, Honourable Minister of Finance. Unemployment reduced to 6.1%, the lowest in our nation's history. Debt to GDP reduced from 178 point something to 99. But the honourable member did say that that used prices from 2016. Upon amendment to 2023 prices, that drops to 93%. Mr. Speaker, these are not abstract figures. These are markers of a country that has found its footing again. A country that has moved from crisis to stability. A country that is now ready to move from stability to sustained growth. Mr. Speaker, good governance is not just about managing numbers. It is about delivering results that the people can see, feel, and experience in their daily lives. I could tell you, before I became an MP or a minister, I had the privilege and the honor to serve as the chairman of the BTII. Then my lineman minister was the honorable member from St. Michael South Central. And I could tell you we did some good work. We did Wyndham Samlor's Castle. We did Freedom Park. You heard the honorable member from Christchurch East Central speak about this yesterday. Our national story of struggle and deliverance. We did the Constitution River extension. We did the Kensington Oval upgrades. We did the Oystons Improvement and Renovation Project. We did the Marcus Garvey Amphitheater. You heard the honorable member from St. Michael East speak passionately with the heart about Marcus Garvey. We also did the relocation of the Nelson statue and installation of the monument to the Barbadian family, sir. I am proud to have been able to be a part of this nation building. And Mr. Speaker, the revitalization of Bridgetown through public-private partnerships signals a bold commitment to urban renewal and economic expansion. And there's more to come for the city. The honorable member for the city would love this. And we've spoken about this together. The commitment of the Saudi Revitalization Fund, the gift from the Afro-Exim Bank will bring along regular people in Bridgetown by uplifting their environs and their housing, sir. This is how people see and feel and touch in the development, how we bring them along with us. Mr. Speaker, we know that the body can't be good unless the heart is good. So that means our city has to be strong. Mr. Speaker, even as we celebrate progress, we must confront reality. We do not exist in a vacuum. We are a small island developing state. And that means we are vulnerable to the forces beyond control. You heard the honorable member from St. Michael North talk about things that we faced before, like 9/11, like the short-term mortgage crisis in the US. These are things that happen overseas, but we still felt the effects of these events at home. These are largely beyond our control. We face rising global energy prices driven by conflict, supply chain disruptions like what we saw with the Russia-Ukraine war right after COVID, the existential threat of climate change, inflationary pressures imported from larger economies. Mr. Speaker, even though we did not create these problems, we must help to solve them for the sake of our people. We have batted our hand beyond our station as well on the international stage with the revolutionary and innovative debt for nature and debt for climate swap, sir. These innovative financial instruments have been vital in clearing the financial space to invest in our society to make the lives of our citizens better. This is what this budget seeks to do as well. Mr. Speaker, in navigating this environment, our mission is clear, crystal clear. We must protect our people, grow our economy, prepare our future. And that means equipping our young people with modern, relevant skills. The Prime Minister talks about this all the time. We go to bed worrying about skills that we can face this modern economy with. Investing in infrastructure, roads, bridges, drainage, tackling traffic congestion, and improving productivity, sir. Strengthening national security, building fiscal resilience, expanding opportunities for ownership, especially home ownership. Because, Mr. Speaker, at the heart of development is one simple principle: people must have a stake. And Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me not to speak here today on this floor, not as the housing minister. Home ownership must not be a privilege for a few. It must be a pathway available for many. And we are pursuing that goal through expansion of the social mortgage program, de-risking mortgages through alternative credit assessments, increasing affordable housing supply, sir, providing home ownership, counseling, and education, as the Honourable Member from Christchurch East Central said in the budget, sir. Building climate-resilient homes for a changing world. Mr. Speaker, when a family owns a home, they gain more than a shelter. They gain dignity, stability, and a future helping to secure generational wealth. Mr. Speaker, this budget does so much for our country. It's amazing. On cost of living, this budget speaks directly to the pressures facing Barbadian households. It delivers real, measurable relief by absorbing 50% of fuel clause increases on electricity, caps on VAT and gasoline and diesel, reduction in excise taxes on fuel, among many. These are not symbolic gestures. These are practical interventions. These are policies designed to put money back into the pockets of Barbadians. Mr. Speaker, no society can thrive without safety. This budget takes decisive steps to establish gun courts, expansion of the police force, duty and VAT removal on home security systems, introduction of dash cams and vehicle monitoring systems, Mr. Speaker. Security is not just about enforcement. It is prevention, it is opportunity, it is engagement. Mr. Speaker, this budget is not just about relief, but about growth as well. It supports agriculture through rebates and incentives, small businesses through expanding financing, digital transformation and skills training, the establishment of a competition commission, and the green industrialization gateway advantage. Mr. Speaker, perhaps the most powerful element of this budget is its investment in the future of our country. You heard the Honourable Member to my right from St. James North speak about this, the Global Youth Fund. Because the truth is, as he said, his experiences that he had overseas helped him to grow as an individual so that he can bring back more to his country in which he serves. This gives international exposure for our students. And of course, Mr. Speaker, the Barbados Republic Child Wealth Fund. Mr. Speaker, I imagine a Barbados where every child begins life not just with hope, but with capital. That is transformation. That is vision. But, Mr. Speaker, let us have an honest conversation. Government cannot do everything. Development is a partnership, and we as citizens must do our part. We must be productive, reduce waste, support each other, care for our families, respect our elders, prepare for adversity, protect our properties from adverse weather events, look after our own health and well-being. Because resilience is not just built in policy, it is built in us. Mr. Speaker, in closing, I'll reflect on the journey of this nation from our colonial past to an independent country to a republic. We have always risen. We have always endured. We have always found a way. And now, in our 60th year of independence, and 5 years of a republic, we stand at a new frontier. A Barbados that is stronger, smarter, and more resilient. And Mr. Speaker, as we continue to write on history's pages, let us do so with purpose. Let us do so with unity. Let us do so with pride. Borrowing from the late President John F. Kennedy, with a personal twist. Let us not ask what our country can do for us, but what we can do for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, what we can do for our great country, Barbados. Mr. Speaker, again, I commend this budget to this honorable House, and I pray that God continues to bless this great nation. I am obliged to you.
Honourable Member, City of Bridgetown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Your mic on? Your mic is on?
My apologies, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. First, let me thank the people of the city for reposing their confidence in me and, of course, voting in numbers for me on the last election. I want to say from the outset that this is my maiden speech. As a member of the Barbados Labour Party, sir. I was so excited, sir, that I went to town and I got a new red tie, sir. And even walked for a red folder too, sir. But be that as it may, sir, I want to thank the Barbados Labour Party for accepting me. And indeed also, I want to thank the Prime Minister for reposing her confidence in me and making me a member of her cabinet. And I want to say too, that I also want to thank the Minister of Finance. In fact, last night I was so excited. And when I look at page 85 of the budget, stands subject to correction, so attracted, sir. So attracted. And indeed, sir, now about the trains. And I want to compliment the Minister of Finance for a comprehensive presentation and a brilliant presentation yesterday. Sir, if you may permit me, sir, I also want to pay my sympathy to a young lady who campaigned with me throughout the elections. If you permit me to call her name, Deborah Gamble. She worked from the time I was nominated to the time we went to Oystins in the presentation of candidates. And so I want to express my condolences to her family. And of course, she didn't have to do it. She was not obligated legally to do it, to come out and canvass with me, but she did it out of love. And she was a genuine and caring person. So on behalf of the people in the city, I want to express my condolences to her. And so when they said I was attracted, sir, to the Minister of Finance proposal, sir, it's about bringing about, sir, some revitalization of Bridgetown, sir. And when during the campaign, I said to people in certain communities that don't let anybody call your community a ghetto. And that you have some sort of, that you have dignity and you have pride. And sir, I'm not attracted to this proposal, sir, out of a political advantage or electoral advantage, sir. I'm attracted to it because of the love and the care and, of course, the generosity that the people in the city exhibited towards me, sir. And I believe, sir, that they deserve their just due. And if their just due, sir, is in the fact of a government, sir, placing, sir, place it in programs, particularly with respect to those areas, sir, if I mentioned them, Cass Castle, Greenfield, sir, Nelson and Wellington Streets, Chapman Lane, sir, and its environs, sir, then, sir, I have to support it wholeheartedly, sir. Baxter's Road, sir, Mason Hall Street, sir. And I'm pleased to know, sir, that the project will start, sir, in Chapman Lane, sir, because I know of the conditions in Chapman Lane, sir. And I know the conditions that they live under too, sir. And the fact too, sir, that I've had the Ministry of Housing under another administration. I've read report after report, sir. In fact, there's a report laid in this Parliament, sir, I believe in the 1990s, about the condition of housing in Barbados, sir. A survey was done. And when you read, sir, when you read that report, sir, it speaks about the quality and condition of the housing stock in Bridgetown, sir, and in St. Michael area, sir. And so if we, sir, or this government, sir, is seeking to advance the whole principle and concept of urban renewal, sir, I will support it, sir. I will support it, sir. I'm informed, sir, that this proposal, sir, is seeking to upgrade housing in the district, sir. And, sir, we must, sir, upgrade housing in those districts, sir. I canvass, sir, the areas, sir. I canvass all of those areas in the city, sir. Of course, and they had, the conditions were bad, sir. And that what, sir, when we are seeking, sir, to implement this program, particularly upgrading housing, sir, there are 4 or 5 principles that we gotta look at, sir, or what characterize housing in the city, sir, or in St. Michael, sir. 1, sir, we have persons living on land, and the lands don't have any owners, sir. You have people living, sir, renting at the events and fancy, sir, of the landlords, sir. Thirdly, sir, we have persons, sir, who will never afford to get a mortgage, or in fact, sir, never afford to buy a piece of land, sir, and we have to accommodate them too, sir. Thirdly, sir, there are some persons too, sir, who will never be able, sir, to own a piece of rock in this country, sir. So, and there are persons, sir, living on land that they are entitled to under the particular legislation, sir, and they can't get the land title, sir. But of course, I know, sir, that the Ministry of Housing is in the forefront, sir, of escalating, sir, and trying to get, sir, title in the hands of people in Barbados, particularly in the urban corridors, sir. But I support this initiative, sir. 1, imagine, sir, you bring along all of this activity to the city. 1, the employment benefits, sir. Imagine, sir, youngsters on the block, youngsters in Nelson Street, sir, youngsters in Chapman Lane, persons who have skills, sir, even the unskilled ones, sir, will be able to get some sort of employment when this project starts, sir. And I must say to the Minister of Finance, sir, I will be behind him, sir, that we start this project as soon as possible, sir. And the reason I say that, because I know that there was a program already, sir, and I had the responsibility of it, sir, but then it was taken from me and given to a former member of the city who only walked, sir, who never drove a car yet, sir. And the program failed, sir. Not because of me. Not because of me, sir. Not because of me. But let me say this, sir, that, I am ready, sir, to get my constituents ready, to have town hall meetings, to get implementation dates, sir, to set up a committee, to get, sir, the laborers, to get the vendors, to get, sir, the elderly, to get all of those persons, sir, probably sit on the committee to catapult this project forward, sir. And so I imagine, sir, the benefits, sir, to the shop owners in the city too, sir, when the project like this starts, sir. I imagine too, sir, the benefits, sir, to vendors too, sir. Can you imagine it, sir? And it's something, sir, that is real, sir. And it's something, sir, that I, sir, wholeheartedly support, sir. And I want, again, to thank the Minister of Finance, sir. And you know, Bob Marley, sir, in his song said, I have so many things to say, sir. So many things to say, so much things to say, sir. And I know I have to, sir, to deal with the criminal justice system and crime. But I have to deal, sir, with my constituents, sir. Because, sir, they have placed me here. And so maybe go on, sir, to look, sir, at housing, sir, in the city, sir. One of, sir, of the problems, sir, is the availability of land space in the urban corridor, sir. And how do we maximize the uses of land in the urban corridor, sir? And there's a solution to it, sir. One, sir. There are crown lands, sir, that are available in the urban corridor. Secondly, sir, there are also lands that have identified, sir. But of course, that is subject, sir, to the approval of other agencies, sir. But I have identified house spots. And that if we are seeking, sir, to deal with the issue of housing, sir, in St. Michael and the city, sir, we have, sir, to look at high-rise solutions, sir. We have to, sir. I know, sir, that there are some shortcomings, sir, of the high-rise solutions in the past, sir. But I believe we learn from our mistakes, sir. And we can further, sir, build out this high-rise unit, sir, for the people, sir, in the city, sir. And so, sir, in relation, sir, to the funds, sir, that will come from the investors as a result of the Planning and Obligations Act, sir. Those funds, sir, in fact, the Minister of Finance said that there will be $7 million into urban development funds, sir. That is progressive, sir. Because not only housing is an issue, sir, but the issue of drainage, sir, the issue of facilities, sir, for young people to recreate, sir, and other amenities, sir. And if we are seeking, sir, to confront, sir, antisocial behavior, sir, we obviously will need, sir, some more injections, sir, into community efforts and institutions, sir, within the city, sir. So, I am so glad for this, sir. As I said, not only out of political advantage or out of any future electoral advantage, sir. I'm for it, sir, because for the people, sir, of the city, sir, and out of a genuine care and love for the people of the city, sir, because I understand their rhythm, sir, and I understand how they move, sir, and I understand how they talk. I understand, sir, how their role, to use the young people language, sir, respectfully, sir. Sir, I have responsibility, sir, for criminal justice, sir, and citizen security, sir. The establishment, sir, of 2 gun courts in this country, sir, is a move in the right direction, sir. And so when I glance through the paper, sir, and I see on the next side of me somebody saying, we don't need a gun court, we need a drug court, sir. And the person masquerading as a criminologist, sir. So I have never come across a book, a research paper, sir, with that person's name on it as a criminologist, sir. I have never heard, and I've never seen it, sir. Never, sir. It's like, sir, you being a lawyer, sir. You're a lawyer. And somebody gonna bring a law-made simple book to you instead of an Archibald or Blackstone, sir? You imagine that, Mr. Speaker, sir? But we must treat that service with kind respect, sir. The issue, sir, is of immediate intervention, sir. And, sir, if I may crave your indulgence, sir. In fact, sir, you know, I came across a case called Jerome Bavell and the Queen, sir.
Yes, sir.
You're familiar with that, sir?
The locus classic.
Locus classic case, sir, on sentencing, sir,
for sentencing for gun
for
related crimes.
But I don't want to use this case, sir, for any legal argument, sir, respectfully, sir. But I want to use it, sir, for the discussion, sir, that took place in this case. Because the reason why the Firearms Act was amended, sir, I think in 1998, is because, sir, we had an upsurge in gun violence. And the Chief Justice at the time, sir, the Attorney General at the time, I think that was Sir David Simmons, as he then was, introduced and amend serious penalties for persons who were involved in firearm-related offenses, sir. That was in 1998, sir. What happened thereafter, sir, is that there was a reduction in offenses in relation to firearm-related offenses, sir. I draw, sir, from, I want to draw, sir, from what was said in this discussion. The Chief Justice at the time said, sir, there is no right for any ordinary citizens of Barbados to bear arms. There's no right to bear arms, sir. It has been totally, sir, he said, sir, he said that is against the cultural norms of this country, sir, for people to be brandishing firearms and using it, sir, in a way, sir, to harm and disturb the peace, sir, of this country, sir. And this discussion, sir, was set, sir, the platform, sir, for the introduction, sir, of two-gun courts. We cannot afford, sir, to sit back and play dead with respect, sir, to gun violence in this country, sir. We can't, sir. The impact, sir, that I have on families, sir. Not only, sir, the accused person, sir, who then will have to serve a time of imprisonment, but the impact, sir, it will have on their dependents too, sir. A son or a daughter, sir. And the impact, sir, it will have on the victim too, sir. That they too have dependents, sir, a son or daughter, sir. That no become a burden, sir, of the state, sir. And secondly, sir, the impact it will have on investors. The impact it will have on our tourism, sir. And the fact, sir, that even local shops, sir, are sometimes shutting early because, sir, of the fear, sir, respectfully, sir. And we ask ourselves why we need two-gun courts. What is the strategy behind it, sir? Will it be part, sir, of the existing system, sir, criminal justice system in this country, sir? I say, sir, that we have, sir, to develop, sir, a firm criminal justice strategy, sir. A firm criminal justice strategy. But the criminal justice strategy, sir, must be characterized, sir, by fairness, sir, respect, sir, for the rights under the Constitution, sir. But indeed, sir, what must also take place, sir, in the criminal justice strategy, sir, is making, sir, our courts more efficient, sir. And to engage, sir, stakeholders, all stakeholders who are critical component of the criminal justice system, sir, to be involved, sir. So what would the gun court do? What would it do, sir? I am informed, sir, respectfully, sir, that one court will deal with matters firearm-related offenses, sir, from January this year up, sir. I'm also informed, sir, that those files are about 95% ready, sir. So once the gun court is established, sir, it would have, sir, the necessary tools. Or me say, when the lawyer is to be paid, sir, the gas, sir, to work, sir. The gas to work, sir. But, sir, how can we make it efficient, sir? The problem, sir, in the criminal justice system, sir, that plague the criminal justice system is timely disclosure, sir. We know that, sir. As, sir, you leading defense attorney, sir, know that. Sir. But how do we, sir, come to that, sir? One, sir, we have to look, sir, at whether we could look at bringing members from society, sir, of good repute, sir, to work alongside with the police, sir, to get these files ready, sir, from charge up, sir, to indictment up to trial, sir. And, sir, I have an issue, sir, if the delays in the criminal justice system with respect, sir, to firearm-related offenses. Because, sir, as you know well, sir, if a man is charged for possession of a firearm, sir, you only need 4 statements, sir. 4 statements, sir. 1, the investigating officer. Secondly, sir, we don't need the backup officer. We just need, sir, the ballistic expert who will come, sir, and give his specialized evidence, sir. Thirdly, sir, we need the keeper of records, sir, to come. And fourthly, sir, if there's an interview on camera, sir, we need that 4 statements, sir, to start a trial of firearm. At 4 cases, 4 statements, sir, cannot take 2 years, 3 years, or a year, or 6 months, sir. But our approach to the gun court, sir, is to ensure, sir, that those files are ready. We have timely disclosure, sir, to attorneys or all stakeholders, sir, and we will have swift justice, sir. But swift justice, sir, will also entail fairness, sir, respectfully, sir, because they don't want the public to go in there and say, look, they're pushing these matters, and they're pushing these things because they want to lick and lock up. It's not that, sir. Our approach, sir, is one of fairness, sir, and that is one of the hallmarks, sir, of our criminal justice system, sir, in this country, sir. I want to say, sir, that this gun court, respectfully, will follow, sir, the Jamaica model. I will not go into the details, sir. I will leave it, sir, to the Attorney General, but I will not go into the details, sir. But I can say, sir, that my research tells me, sir, that when Jamaica established a gun court, sir, their gun court, it resulted in a reduction in crime, sir. Immediate reduction in crime, sir. That is what my research tells me. From the time it was set up, sir. That is what my research tells me, sir. And so, the other gun court, respectfully, sir, will deal with the backlogs. So the existing backlog in the system now, sir, will be dealt with by the second gun court, sir. I have no issue, sir, with specialized courts. I have no issue, sir, with that, sir. We need specialized courts. We need, sir, also specialist prosecutors too, sir. Particularly, sir, in the area, sir, of financial crime, sir, respectfully, sir. We need that, sir. And so, this gun court, sir, is established, sir, against a background, sir, that was laid by the former Attorney General, sir. Because if one wants to say, sir, or if, sir, anybody wants to challenge this government with respect to bringing initiatives, sir, to fight crime, sir, then, sir, we can read them off our tongue, sir. Because I know, sir, that there was an increase in judges in the High Court, sir. I know, sir, that there was an increase, sir, in prosecutors in the department, sir. I know, sir, that there were amendments to the Bail Act, sir, to make bail not only difficult, sir, but it also included provisions, sir, that respected the right, sir, of a person's right to liberty, sir. I know, sir, that there were amendments to the Firearm Act too, sir. That was done by this government, sir, to make it more difficult, sir, and in fact to introduce stiffer penalties for firearm offenses, sir. So the foundation is there, sir. And this is following on, sir, on the foundation, sir, with respect, sir, to what this government is, sir, in the previous term, sir. I want to say, sir, that, and I spoke to the Minister of Finance, sir, that important, sir, to the criminal justice system, sir, is the reintroduction of the forensic scientist, sir. I'm awaiting, sir, word, sir, from the Minister of Finance, sir. But it is crucial, sir, and it's a crucial component of the criminal justice system, sir, because I always say to myself, and I believe that you will support me too, Mr. Speaker, that in some instances, sir, scientific evidence can help in the backlog of cases. Because if a man is charged, sir, and scientific evidence come to the court, sir, linking him to the crime, sir, there is a possibility, sir, that he will take a plea and not waste the court time, sir, and that we can get rid, sir, of the backlog, sir, by reintroduction, sir, because police officers have now to send, sir, samples overseas, sir. And sometimes, sir, those samples the findings of those samples don't even come back, sir. And so that is why I look across at the Minister of Finance, because they have responsibility, sir, for the forensic scientists, sir. And it is a critical component, sir, of the criminal justice system, sir. I don't see it, sir, from the point of view, sir, that you're seeking to get convictions, sir. I also see it from the other end too, sir. Because if policemen, sir, or prosecutors believe that they can prosecute someone, sir, and we have findings from a sample, sir, suggesting that he's not committed to the crime or connected to the crime, sir, then the case will have to go. And that will help, sir, in the backlog, sir. That will help in the backlog, sir. But it also, sir, will go back, sir, to what the foundation of what was placed there, sir, in the criminal justice system. You know, sir, that this government introduced plea bargaining legislation, sir. You know, sir, that this government also, sir, introduced judge-alone trials too, sir. I mean, these initiatives, sir, will help, sir, in the backlog with respect to the criminal justice system, sir. But we have, sir, to also look at our crime prevention strategies. You know, sir, when I raised the issue of the 16 to 25 age group, sir, when I raised that, sir, in relation to pointing and targeting the criminal justice strategy towards them, sir, I was serious, sir. Because I not too long come out of the system, sir. I know, sir, that there were 16-year-olds, sir, involved in some very serious crimes. Not only murder, sir, but also firearm-related offenses, sir. But then then somebody out the blue come and say, but you ain't talk about those under 16, sir. But in the estimate, sir, I made sure I made an intervention, sir. And I asked, sir, what about the early intervention process, sir? And the Ministry of Education gave me an answer which I was satisfied of, sir. Particularly the person wasn't listening to the estimates. In fact, they have no locus in listening because, of course, you know, they were wiped out during the last election, sir. But let me say this, sir. Let me say this, sir, that the 16 to 25 age group, sir, that my ministry, sir, will be introducing programs targeting that group, sir, because we want to move them away, sir, as far as possible from persons who are connected to the criminal justice system, sir. We must save them, sir. We must speak also to the parents too, sir. And the parents, they have a responsibility, sir. I was playing dominoes in my constituency on Saturday, sir. I shared 1/6 love. And then, sir, after the first 6 love.
Honourable, somebody was asking you a question.
What, sir?
Someone was asking you, I know if the question, Honourable, I don't know if it's a rhetorical question, but I ask you if you get any.
Sir, we will say, sir, that is a matter, sir, that I don't think I should respond to, sir. It doesn't touch and concern the subject matter respectfully.
What is the real answer, yes or no?
Sir, what happened, sir, is that after they realized they came from St. Philip and the city, sir, and gave some fellas up there 6 love, they went somewhere else, sir. I imported, sir, some professional domino players, sir. So I have one at my left hand, sir, and one at my right hand, sir. But I'm going back this Saturday, sir, to make wrong things right, sir. No, I'm not going to get beat worse. But, sir, we must ensure, sir, or implore upon parents in this country, sir, that they have a responsibility, sir, because the government cannot do all, sir. And if you're speaking about a whole of nation approach, we, sir, must include every single person. The parents, sir, the community workers, the churches, sir, the groups, the religious groups, sir, the youth clubs, sir, and work, sir, with other agencies and all other ministries, sir, because we have not only to confront this, sir, on seeking to enforce measures, sir, but we must also seek, sir, to prevent them, sir, from being contaminated, sir, by the criminal elements in this country, sir. I want to say this, sir, that the National Peace Program, sir, we, sir, will work along, sir, with communities, as it's done before, and they've done some good work. They've done good work, sir. But somebody might ask, after the football and the cricket, what else? And that is what we are working on, sir. They have done good work. And they have succeeded, sir, in pulling back, sir, some of the young people from being in contact with the criminal justice system, sir. Sir, one important thing, sir, or one important stakeholder in the criminal justice system is the Barbados Police Service, sir. And we, sir, my ministry, sir, we intend to give them the fullest of support in relation, sir, to the area of technology, sir, in the area, sir, of making it, sir, efficient for them in terms of evidence gathering, sir, providing, sir, the tools, sir, to do their job, sir. But the tools is not, sir, only related, sir, to case management, sir, and evidence gathering, sir, but the tools also means improved working conditions, sir, for the police officers, sir. And that is why, sir, a new station will be done at 6 Roads in St. Philip, sir, my former area, but still my area. And in that, sir, we'll have, sir, the latest of technology, sir, to give, sir, the police the advantage, to give them the leverage, sir. And I must always say this because when they say, sir, that the police must be able to do their job aggressively, sir, somebody say you want them to infringe the people's constitutional rights. Let me make it clear, sir, that it must be done, sir, in a transparent manner, sir, with due regard, sir, to due process of the law, sir, and the respect, sir, to a suspect constitutional rights, respectfully, sir. I have to put that cover over it, sir, respectfully. And so, I am also, sir, pleased to announce, sir, that only last week, sir, that I was informed by my ministry that land, sir, is now available, sir, for the construction, sir, of a new Black Rock police station, sir. I am also, sir, informed too, sir, that work, sir, will continue at Central Police Station, sir, and at District Area Police Station, sir. And, sir, you know, sir, as a practitioner, sir, that you had, sir, and still, sir, will travel to this station, sir, to see your client, sir. And you recognize, sir, the conditions, sir, that exist in those stations, sir. And so we have, sir, and we are duty bound, sir. We are duty bound to ensure that those conditions are improved, sir, that those stations that we call upon, sir. And I would say, sir, that we have, sir, a date for the opening of 6 Roads, for the launching, sir, of the 6 Roads Police Station and Civic Center, sir. We were given a date, sir, in June, sir, for the launching, sir, of that station, sir.
Honourable member, you have 2 minutes.
2 more minutes, sir. Can I ask, sir, on a plate to you, sir, for an extension of time, sir?
No, unfortunately, no, that does not exist here. Those are prescribed by the standing order, so you can't apply to me. They're applicable to these standing orders. They comply.
Yes, sir.
I comply.
But we
I
might have a
comply.
discussion respectfully on that, sir. Respectfully in the future, sir.
I mean, have what?
We can have a discussion on it respectfully in the future, sir. I'm not seeking to usurp your functions.
No, but in the future, but not now.
In the future.
But not now. Not in the future. You have used up 1 minute of your time, sir.
Sir. Sir, I want to say to the people of Barbados, sir, that this country, sir, is serious about confronting, sir, the escalation in crime, and very serious, sir, about modernization, sir, of the police force, modernization, sir, of the criminal justice system, sir. And I want to say this, sir, in closing, sir. We cannot, sir, look to improve the criminal justice system, sir, without, sir, looking seriously, sir, at the magistrate's court, sir. That is the first, sir, contact, sir, that a person who is charged, sir, the first judicial officer that a suspect go before, sir, is the magistrate, sir. And it's from there, sir, that the High Court and this gun court, sir, will be fed, sir, the committal proceedings. So we can't, sir, leave it like that, sir, in how is that existing, sir? We have to modernize it, sir. You have to use technology, sir. We have to do case management at the magistrate's court, sir. We have, sir, to even use, sir, Zoom hearings too, sir, at the magistrate's court, sir. Sir, when I was in Tortola, I was the most surprised man, sir, that I got a list on my email, case management, sir, from magistrate's court. Normally in Barbados, sir, you only get case management from the court, sir. So what it is that we can't do it here, sir, in Barbados, sir. And that is the foundation of our criminal justice system, sir. The magistrate's court is the foundation of our criminal justice system, sir. And we have, sir, to seek to improve it and enhance it, sir. Whether by technology, sir, or by systems, sir, we can make it efficient, sir. I, sir, don't want to use the word in conclusion yet, sir.
You probably don't have to use it. I can use it for you.
I want to move, sir, respectfully, sir. That again, I want, sir, to associate myself, sir, the proposal, sir, by the Honourable Minister of Finance, sir. I'm so, sir, so glad, sir, for the people of the city, sir. And I will walk with them, sir. Come this weekend, sir, I will go in Cat's Castle. I will go in Greenfield, sir. And I will tell them, look, what this government is doing for you, sir. Your lot will be improved. You will get your just due. I know, sir, sometimes for them, life seems brutish, nasty, and short, sir. But, sir, Thomas Hobbes. But, sir, this now comes, sir. This proposal now comes, sir. Really, sir, as a savior for their standard of living, sir, for their future, sir, and indeed their children's future, sir. Sir, if you are minded, sir, to let me move on, sir, to the other aspect of my speech, sir, I, sir, will be extremely grateful to you, sir, respectfully, sir. But if you are not so minded, sir, if you are not so minded, sir, I will take my seat, sir, and I will thank you, sir, for obliging me respectfully, sir.
Please, sir, I beg the suspension of this chamber until 20 minutes past 5 o'clock.
The question is that this honourable chamber be suspended until 20 minutes after 5. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands suspended until 20 after 4.